So we went over what lash extensions are, and again, you have your own answer for that. I recommend that you have it down because if somebody asks you, you need to be able to answer that. So lash extensions are a cosmetic application to enhance your natural lashes via volume, classic, or hybrid. How do we know if we're talking hybrid, classic, or volume? You should have this chart behind me completely down. So if we're talking anything that is going to be 0.04 and below, you're talking mega volume. Okay, if it's 0.05 to 0.07, that's volume. And then anything that has not a zero after the point, we're talking classic. Okay. This chart behind me, you have to know by heart, otherwise you don't know anything about lash extensions. If you don't know what this means, if you don't know the diameters, then you have no business doing anybody's lashes. So since we're diving into diameters, we're gonna go ahead and cover the topic that is going to be on module 1 for curl, diameter, and lengths. So as far as diameter goes, you already know what you need to know based on this chart. As long as you know that 0.03 and 0.04 are dedicated for mega volume, and 0.05, 0.06, and 0.07 is for volume, and anything with a 0.1 or greater, it's going to be dedicated for classic, then you know the basics. From there, you can build and you can get more complex and learn different stylings and mappings, but just know that. And by the way, if you're not saying zero for anything volume or mega volume, if you're saying 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, you don't know what you're talking about. And it sounds ignorant. Somebody had to say it. It sounds very ignorant to say 0.5. Because what are you talking about? 0.5 should be all the way over here. And I know it's a very small detail, but that does make the difference between somebody that is investing in their education and somebody that's just kind of like, I don't really care. I don't really care. Oh, by the way, Leo is joining us in today's lesson, as always. So if you hear walking around or heavy breathing or snoring, that's Leo. Anyway, so that's gonna be your diameters. Let me write that down. Diameters. Okay, now for curl, I'm very excited to show you this part of the lesson because I have a great material tool to show you so that you can better understand curls. Oh, I dropped it. Leo, enough. Okay, so here we have a diagram or a display that is going to... Leo, stop, I'm filming. Look at this, how amazing it is that you can actually show your clients what you mean by different curls. Leo, come here. Okay, I'm trying not to drop them because they're very like fragile. Here we go. Here we go, perfect. So whenever you're talking about curls, you're talking about the curvature of the lash extension that you're going to be applying. It can go anywhere from double D, D, B, C, J, M, L, N. I believe that covers the majority of them. There's new curls coming out all the time. So there's not like a one specific or one basic one. I will say through the years, the most popular ones before, let me write this down. So curls. Oh, that's not how you spell curls. Okay, so for curls, before we used to see a lot of D curl or DD, C or CC, maybe No, really, that was really it. That was what the curls that were being used the most. We knew about B curl, but we didn't really use it. So it was really B, C, D, okay? Now, the curls that we're seeing more and more now are going to be these specialty curls. And if you're not using specialty curls, you are already losing. You are out of the game. You need to be able to use these curls because this is what's trending and this is what your clients are gonna want. So get on with it. If you're not using or not familiar with M curl or J curl or L curl and most recently N curl, what are you doing? You don't know this? That's right, Leo. Tell him. He said, if you're not using specialty curls, then what are you here for? So what is the difference between a specialty curl? Okay, Leo, enough. Come here. Come here. Come here. What is the difference between a specialty curl and a regular curl? I'm glad you asked. I'm gonna show you. So here we have, ooh, look how pretty. These are going to be the representation of your specialty curls. What is the main thing that you notice about specialty curls and your regular curls that we've been using for the last 10 years? Can you spot it? Yeah, I know you can, Leo. Can you spot it? There's something very distinctive in the difference between specialty curls and regular curls. Anybody? It's a flat base. If you can see closely here, these curls have a flat base and then they go up lifting or they go out and up. Your regular curls have a very soft base and then they curve up more, not as aggressive, I guess I could say. It's like a bit smoother transition. But lately, everybody wants these specialty curls. Now, hold up a second. If you learn how to combine these two in a set, your books are going to be full. Trust. Learn both of these curls, and that's how you're going to stand out and be able to get your books full like that. Okay, so we know curls refer to the curvature of the lash extension. We know that diameter refers to the classification, whether it's mega volume, volume, or classic. And now we need length. Length really is just as simple as it sounds. When we're talking length, we're talking typically, and this is another tip and another fact in the lash industry that has changed dramatically in the last, even just the last year. It has very much changed because before, and I'm gonna keep it here in like the before column with the curls that we were doing majorly before. Not that we have stopped using them, because we still use them, but not like we did before, okay? That's important to make a note of. So for length, used to, industry standard was 9 millimeters to 15. Almost every single company that you could buy from would have these lengths. What happens when you can only do lengths 9 to 15? You get limited, okay? Don't get me wrong, there's plenty that you can do with a 9 to 15 millimeter. However, you can do so much more with and hear me out. I don't necessarily agree with this, but you now have access to a range that is a lot larger. Going from, the shortest I've seen is 3 millimeter. Here's the part that I don't like, to 30 millimeters. Okay. Now, a quick thing that you need to know before we move on from lengths is that yes, the natural lash, the length of the natural lash matters a lot, and it's going to dictate how long you can go with the length that you're going to be picking. However, you can break the rules once you learn them. Used to, the rule it was that if your client has a natural lash length of 10 millimeters, you can only go 3 higher, meaning that you can only go from 10, well, we don't have it, from 10 to 13. I don't necessarily agree with that old school vintage with that old way of teaching. However, I do agree that not everybody needs to have 30 millimeters. Okay, not everybody needs to have even 16 millimeters. However, the evolution of lash extensions come from the fact that we were only able to get our hands on 9 to 50 millimeters, and now we have such a wider range. That doesn't mean that you are gonna go use 30 millimeters on everybody. Have I ever used 30 millimeters on anybody in my life? Absolutely not. And I probably won't, unless it's like for educational purposes or something like that. However, as everything else has evolved, so have lash styles. And I believe we're gonna cover that in the next module. But just know that when we talk classic, hybrid, and volume, you need to know where does it fall in diameter, what curls you're going to use, and what length. If you're going to venture out in the lengths that are gonna be longer, then you have to understand that you can't really use those lengths all throughout the lash line. So what I would recommend is that you keep some shorter lengths, and if you want to use spikes to create any looks like these right here, like let's get this one for example. Here you can see how this client has texturized layers, and some of the lengths go short, long, short, long. That's why we use the longer lengths, not 30. This client, I believe her longest length was 16, and that's the absolute longest length you see on there. Okay, so you can create texture and you can create dimension when you're using these lengths. Personally, the longest length I've used as a spike, I believe it's been 18, but that client's natural lash length was 14, 15 millimeters. So not that I'm going by the old school rule of only use 3 millimeters, but not only her eye shape allowed for it, her face shape, everything made sense for me to be able to use that specific length for that spike. And again, I used 12 millimeters on her as well. So it's a combination of both of them, right? So we've covered curl, diameter, and lengths. We know what lash extensions are. And the last thing that I want to cover before we wrap up some of the lessons in the first module is going to be quality over quantity. And this one's huge, guys, because now you have so many options to get your products from. You can go directly through a supplier, or you can go through an American brand, or you can go through your homegrown industry that's selling lash supplies. Let me tell you that it's going to reflect heavily on your artistry, on your work, what products you're using. All the way down to tweezers, adhesive, the lash extension themselves, obviously, and any sealer or bonders that you're using, also primers. Here comes Leo with a toy. It matters to invest in your products because your clients can tell the difference. And also, once you're lashing, you're gonna come into a lot of obstacles, and the last thing you want to be struggling with is going to be you fighting with your tweezer because it doesn't quite grip like you need it to, or fighting with your lash extensions because they're not fanning the way that they're supposed to. That's because you're using cheap products. Nobody that is successful works with cheap products. You have to get quality products in order to deliver luxury services. Now, maybe cheap is not the best word here. Maybe low quality is, because thankfully, as the lash industry has exploded, so have our options to get supplies from anywhere, right? So affordable may be a better word, because something that is cheap, I'm thinking cheap in quality, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that it can be affordable. So I have 1000% invested in products that are affordable and the quality is really nice. And I have 1000% invested in products that were very expensive. And majority of the times the quality matched. That's not to say that every single time that you spend your money or invest your money on something that is really expensive, unfortunately, that doesn't say that the quality is going to always match. I'm just saying that if for you, skipping a step as important as picking a product that is going to deliver quality, not necessarily cheap, but affordable, don't make the mistake to think that you can create luxury results with low quality products. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up right there for covering just some of the lessons in the first module so that you guys can get started and make sure that we're going over every single lesson before hitting the comprehensive assignment at the end. A little bit of a sneak peek of the comprehensive guide. We cover everything that was talked about in the lessons in the module. And if you have any questions through the modules, you can ask the question in the private group. For those of you that are watching on TikTok, there is a private group that I have all my students on, and where I post all of these lessons and modules so that you can rewatch and get a certification at the end of the program. So the comprehensive guide, what it's going to do is going to ask you to create, I think it's at least 2 or 3 assignments that are going to be posted on your social media, because the online program is also focused on growing your brand and growing your social media presence. So if you absolutely don't want to deal with social media, you can just post your assignments to the group, but I encourage you to post them to social media. I will repost them all over my platforms so that you can also get some reach that way. But I 100% recommend that you are doing these assignments, completing them, turning them in, and engaging with anybody else in the group, because that is the reason I put that community together, for all of you to talk to each other and encourage each other, and if you have questions, to share them with each other. Everything that is behind me you should know by heart, and you should be able to create looks like these right here in no time. All that you need to do is just complete the work that I've already laid out for you. I've given you even the answers. I just need you to do it so that you start gaining the muscle memory and that you start creating the looks and gaining the confidence. Really, that's where it comes from, so that you can too be a badass. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up right there. If you have any questions, always reach out to me, reach out to anybody in the group, get over the chat, talk to Leo. He got our backs. I'll see you guys in the next module.